Hi, welcome to the Worthy Physician Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sapna Shah Haq, a board-certified internal medicine physician. Keep life simple. You are human. You are worthy. Remember what matters to you. Our goal is to help physicians remember this and to make it a reality through addressing various components of physician burnout via podcast. This is meant to be used as a tool to help guide physicians. It does not take place of professional medical help. Opinions reflected in this are my own. While I was interviewing Tammy, the dietitian, one thing that struck me during our conversation was her admission about her struggle with anorexia as well as anxiety. The anorexia being in her adolescence and the anxiety being current. I think it highlights what Dr. Bean, or Bob, and I have covered in the two previous podcasts on physiology and burnout. Number one, self-awareness. Number two, labeling those emotions. Number three, really learning and digging into the self as to triggers and also how to cope with emotion on a daily basis. I'm highlighting this conversation that Tammy and I had because I think this is a very beautiful example. And even though she is not a physician, she is in healthcare and has had many life experiences. And I do not think that this is an isolated event. I do think that anxiety is very common, very, very common in physicians and other healthcare professionals. And unfortunately, we do not talk about it. But this is a beautiful conversation. So please listen and try to look internally to see if you, the listener, can identify with anything that is being said here. And if so, it's okay to feel that. Label it, acknowledge you're human, and then try to figure out what to do with it. Just we try to optimize management. There are some
Because
days,
everybody's different.
right?
Everybody's different. Everybody has a different need, and recognize. And that's why I keep saying, not everything you read online is it's perfect for you, or not everything that we know it's perfect for everybody. You got
Right.
to think about what are your barriers, what's really causing your tiredness, what's really causing you to crave the sugary stuff. In my case, I crave the sugary stuff when I'm stressed, and that's
Yeah.
the first moment, the first whenever I find myself craving sugar, that's when I go like, okay, what's going on?
Right.
Like, what do I need to address? What, other than anxiety? And you can publish this. I tell anybody that
Sure.
I have really bad anxiety,
Sure.
and I've had to learn to work with it. I've had to learn to live with it.
Right.
I've had to cut back my coffee because it makes it worse when I
Mm-hmm.
have three coffees a day, right?
Right.
I can only have one, and that's fine. I've learned to live with it. But now I forgot where I was going with that.
But I mean, the whole thing about you have to really take the time to have that insight, though. And a lot of
Yeah.
people in healthcare,
To understand what works for you.
how did you develop that self awareness?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know. I think at some point I think I think it started when I had oh my goodness, postpartum depression,
Right.
and I didn't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to my doctor, who was just a general, like, internal medicine doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
And he kind of, so I started talking to him. He's just like, you got postpartum depression. Like, when did you give birth? How old is your baby? Like, how are you doing this? Are you feeling like this? And it just caught me so off guard that, you know, and of course he put me on medicine, and of course it was amazing, and I felt great afterwards. And,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that was the start of, hey, so, there is
Mm-hmm.
something going on, and maybe I need to pay more attention. But I've always been very observant of everything, and I don't know. Just like I know my mom has anxiety just
Mm-hmm.
because of the things that I know now,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right? And I know in my family who has anxiety, and I try to, you know, make them aware because I'm going through it. And that's why I'm part of me doesn't want to say it because, it'll make you, yeah, everybody's like, you got anxiety. Oh my God. But, even with anxiety, I've gotten to where I am, and I'm a
Right.
manager now, and I love what I do. And you just have to be aware and work with it. I have an amazing husband
Right.
that when we thankfully work together in the same building,
Yeah.
right? So
Good.
sometimes I had one time that I broke down, and I closed my office, and
Mm-hmm.
I called him, and he was there, and all I needed was a hug,
Yeah.
and he gave me the hug, and I finished crying, and then that was it. So, you know,
But I mean, that's the thing, right? You embrace your humanity.
right.
And I think that's where not just physicians, not just nurses, but everybody in healthcare and in other industries, but this is focusing on healthcare in general.
Mhm.
I think that's where we need to embrace, right? We
Embrace
need to,
your humanity and your reality.
right?
Like, what is your reality? Again, can you cook? Do you know how to cook? No. Do you want to cook? Yeah. Then find recipes, find Google you or YouTube videos,
YouTube, YouTube. It's great.
do you, uh, right? It's
Yeah.
great for some things.
Man.
So again, like you were saying, definitely, I totally agree. Embrace your humanity because
Right.
you are human.
Right.
Doctors, you are human. Nurses, you are human.
Right.
I feel so bad that nurses keep being piled on stuff to do, and I'm like, but they're gonna break.
Yeah.
It's same with doctors. They're gonna break. How much more are you gonna pile on them to do and check boxes, as a healthcare system, not where I work, as a healthcare system.
As a healthcare system, doesn't matter where you are. And that's the
It's
thing, right?
crazy.
They all, I think the venture capitalists put it all on the back of altruism. Now, I didn't go into medicine for the money. I mean, yeah, yes, I know everybody will say, well, you have a comfortable lifestyle. I'm not denying that, but also $500,000 in debt. People don't know that, right?
I was gonna say, and you also worked really hard to get there. They didn't.
Well, I mean, that's a public perception, and I respect that. It's wrong, but I respect that. But I mean, it's just we have to embrace our humanism and say, yeah, I'm human. I'm gonna cry when a patient dies, and there's some patients and deaths that touch you more than others. We've had that. We've had those patients, and you just kind of,
I cried when I left where I was
yeah,
after you left, and then I had the change of jobs.
yeah,
I cried. That one patient, I had a patient, who,
yeah,
and he started crying, and then I
yeah.
started crying, and I was like, this is not helping. Because I was already at the brink of crying because I really, really, and he was like, but if you're not here, who's going to help me? And I was like, oh my God. Like, you
but that,
know,
but that's the thing, right? Because you always met patients where they were, and that's kind of
right.
that's the art of medicine. And I mean that as kind of an umbrella term. That's the art of medicine, and we have to kind of meet as physicians, as humans, as nurses, as dietitians, or whatever area we're in. We have to meet ourselves where we're at as a human being, as a patient, and really acknowledge that and say, okay, I don't know how to cook, but could I develop this interest because I don't like the way I'm feeling because I'm working 100 hours a week. My outcomes have not been great just because really sick people are coming in, and COVID, and people are yelling at me because I don't give them ivermectin, and people are pissing on the nurse because they're getting pissed off, literally, right? Literally and figuratively. Um, but I mean, all these things are real. And I think we need to acknowledge it and remember that food is fuel for our bodies, and that it is one way, not the only way, but one way we can control factors that change our physiology, change the way we feel. May not make a huge impact, but it's a place to start. Remember, you are worthy, you are human. Take care.
We've all been guilty and made our own mistakes, said and done the things to perpetuate the hate. Hey, I think it's time to turn around. Hey, and begin again. Hey, I think that I can look in the mirror and start again. The second time around, the second time.